and they go, here's some highlights of your career, and that clip will be the first clip.
That was one where Max made the difference.
So we now have a new team boss. We've said farewell to Christian Horner and welcome to Laurent Mekies.
That is as intense as it's ever going to get. So, everything from now on's easy.
But it was such an exciting moment in Japan, seeing, Max obviously won the race, but it was Yuki's debut as a Red Bull racing driver. Welcome to Talking Ball, powered by Arvatrade. This is the podcast where we talk all things Oracle Red Bull Racing. I'm Nicola Hume, I'm your host, and as always, I'm joined alongside Tomo McCluskey. How are you doing, Tomo?
I am good. I am jealous of your background. Mine is far less impressive than that lovely Oracle Red Bull Racing suit. What's the story, Nick?
Oh, well, this was Goodwood last year. So I got invited by a separate car brand to the Goodwood Ball, right? And I was already working that weekend at Goodwood with Red Bull. And that was the year they were celebrating 20 years of Red Bull racing. And we had, 5 drivers, 6 drivers, and me doing one podcast. It was wild. And then at the ball that night, I entered the raffle because it was like a charity raffle thing. And I won a signed suit that was signed by every single driver that I happened to do the podcast with that day. So I've put it in a really nice frame with photos
Meant
and
to
show
be.
who
Look
signed
at that. That is unbelievable. I love that. That is so. I've got a few props knocking about, although I'm about to have a house move. So again, there's a lot of mess that's just out of shot. But that's the beauty of podcasts. You don't have to. It's just what's in the camera that counts. Okay.
Do you want to know who signed it? I'll rattle off the list for you.
Go on.
Right, so we've got Max Verstappen, Checo Perez, Daniel Ricciardo, Yuki Tsunoda, Mark Webber, David Coulthard, and Christian Horner. Oh, and Adrian Newey signed it as well.
Crikey. That's going to be worth. I mean, it's worth a lot of money today, Nick, but worth a lot of money going forward. Yeah, that's your retirement right there.
It is. It's good, right? So I was like, I've got to put it in the background for this podcast because, we have a lot of things to discuss, by the way. This is the first time we've done something like this. It's quite exciting. So we're going to be talking about the season so far, how we're feeling, looking ahead, that kind of thing, so we can have a good old blooming chat. So I thought it might be nice to do the first question. For you, Tomo, what has been your most memorable moment of the season so far?
Oof, I mean, there's a few very entertaining, particularly from Max, moments on the radio on. Asked about the F1 movie, and Max was like, "What's that?" I have no idea. I've not seen it pop up on Apple TV yet. So Max is always up for a laugh, right? And he knows that he knows what he's doing. I love it. Yeah. But I've got to say, Nick, one of the most impressive overtakes I've ever watched live, his move around the outside of Oscar Piastri at Imola.
Oh
my goodness.
Emilia-Romagna, stunning. Turn 1.
Huge. Clutch out of nowhere. And Oscar has proven himself to be very, very adept in wheel-to-wheel combat, right? This kid, he's young, he's only in his 3rd season, but he's been hugely impressive this year. And Max just slung it round the outside. No one saw it coming. George was fuming on the radio. He was like, Oscar, what are you doing? You've let it through. And it was what an overtake. He got it done. That was Max on the absolute edge, on the absolute raggedy edge, getting it done. That was a hell of a move. That was one of those moments where you stand up and like you are aghast. Whether you support Max or Red Bull or not, it was unbelievable.
Okay, so my other highlight was actually all the way back to the first race of the season, which was the Australian Grand Prix. And it wasn't a good day for Isaac Hadjar because he crashed out in the formation lap. But it was what came after that has made that so memorable, because he came off track, he was clearly devastated, and he walked away, and then it was like Papa Hamilton come up and gave him a massive hug. And it was like the universe, regardless of which team, which driver, whoever you support, everybody sort of universally came together to kind of support Isaac Hadjar. And since that moment, he has been incredible in every single race. He is still, I believe, the only driver to make it out of Q1 for every single qualifying. And it was one of those moments where I remember watching it, I was devastated for him. And you're like, this can go 2 ways, right? This is either going to be him completely defeated, or he's just going to go and, put it nicely, kick some ass over the next few races. And that's exactly what he did. And that for me was such a huge moment.
Yeah, I mean, with so many rookies on the grid this season, and Isaac being one of those with, yeah, I mean, very little in terms of expectation, I think, relative to a lot of the other rookies. I think that's very, very fair to say coming in. You know, he'd done a great job in Formula 3 alongside, you know, Behrman and Martins. If you go back a few years, difficult first year in F2, then second year in F2, him and Gabriel Bortoleto going for the title all the way to the end. And then Hadjar was announced very late, you know, as a Racing Bulls driver. And like you say, had that first weekend, which was tough for a lot of the rookies. I mean, Behrman was the only one who finished, and he had an awful practice where he just went off, and then he had a stinker in practice. They all had a bad time, did the rookies, but it was trial by fire, right? Those conditions were insane. And yeah, Isaac's been such a. We've got to shout out the Racing Bulls social media team, because
oh my god, the best of the best.
The gems they've been dropping with Liam and Isaac have been unbelievable. Gotta say.
I mean, because like before the season even started, I mean, it was just kind of gossip central, wasn't it? Because, I mean, we had 6 rookies on the grid. Then we finally had Lewis Hamilton joining Ferrari, which just felt like a wild move. That was such huge news when that was announced. And then you had Liam Lawson was then taken over from Checo to join the Red Bull Racing team. So it was a huge start to the year. It wasn't just like a copy-paste moment to start the season off. It was quite an exciting start, even though the racing hadn't started yet.
Yeah, I think obviously Lewis had been announced at the start of last year, so we had an entire season knowing that was going to happen, and that kind of built up a lot of suspense.
Though, it was weird.
Lewis, at his stage, he's had so much success. You know, 7 world titles, and it was. I think for him, I think it's worth the gamble. You know, and things are. You know, it's always going to be a transitional season. I think we're going to see the best of Lewis probably in 2026, and like you say, obviously Liam coming in as well. Replacing Checo at the start of the year, you know, it was very much, it was always going to be a challenge for now. And I think Liam made such a strong impression as well. You know, the times that he subbed in, you know, Singapore, he's, you know, right at the start where he put it in Q3, and Max ended up not getting through to Q3 because Liam did. You know, it was a big impression Liam made early on in his Red Bull stint, and he definitely merited the opportunity. He merited a seat, right? Because there was all this talk around, you know, when Ricciardo obviously returned to the Red Bull family and was racing in the Racing Bulls, you know, Liam, Daniel, who kind of merited the seat. Yuki was still in Racing Bulls at the time, and I'm glad Liam has got his shot, and he may not still be in the Red Bull Racing seat right now, but he's still in an F1 seat, and we've seen, I mean, just recency bias here, but 3 point scoring finishes in the last 4 races for Liam Lawson. You know, it wasn't the easiest transition back to Racing Bulls, but points galore, points on the board. Love to see it.
Loins. That's what they're calling it. The admin team are calling it loins, Liam Points.
Loins. Love the loins. Bring us more loins.
Well, then, I mean, how do you want to do this? Do you want to go through sort of the races, or do you want to go through the Red Bull highlights? How do you want to play this right now?
I think there's obviously a lot of Red Bull talking points this year.
Yeah.
So maybe let's start on with, I mean, I guess the first most pertinent thing, because there's been a lot of rumours obviously this year around Max's future. We know Max has a contract. We believe it's going into kind of the end of 2028. And, you know, the rumours with Mercedes been very kind of pertinent and prominent as of late. And Max has now kind of, he's said it outwardly, he's going to be at the team at 2026. And I mean, look, I've said this for the longest time, whether it's on Talkable or my own platform, you know, I think it makes complete sense for Max to be in the Red Bull car for 2026. You know,
yes,
it's a complete change of regulations. Nobody knows, right? It's a massive shake-up. Think of, you know, Brawn 2009. No one saw that coming. We just do not know. There's assumptions. The general assumption is that Mercedes is going to have the strongest engine. There is no guarantee. You know, that puts pressure on Mercedes somewhat.
No one knows. Yeah.
No one knows, right? So you might as well, you know, see the lay of the land. Consistency is important. We all know that whatever package Oracle Red Bull Racing can give Max next year, Max will maximise that package. And if it's good enough, then amazing, you know. And I think Max has said consistency. He'd love to finish his career at Red Bull Racing, and let's just hope that we as a team can give him a car to fight again at the front. You know, obviously Oracle Red Bull Racing is in this kind of transitional phase at the moment, which I'm sure we'll kind of get into it. And I think having consistency and stability behind the wheel is going to serve this team well. And I think, Max has been an incredible servant to this team. 200 races now at Red Bull Racing, 117 podiums, 4 world titles. I mean, it's a pretty good return, Nicola.
It's not bad, is it?
It's not bad. It's all right.
He's done all right, hasn't he? He's done all right. But I mean, there was a major change at Red Bull Racing this season that literally happened a few weeks ago as we're having this conversation. So we now have a new team boss. We've said farewell to Christian Horner and welcome to Laurent Mekies. I am very excited to meet him. I have heard nothing but wonderful things. And that opening race where he was team boss just kind of kicked off in style, I think. And he seems to be bringing a really lovely energy to the team. And it was really nice at Belgium to see him take the time to still speak to Liam and Isaac while he was also still in charge of Yuki and Max. And it just felt like it's all coming together as one big, lovely family, which feels really nice to me.
Yeah, again, I've not had the privilege to meet Laurent yet, but from everything I've seen, everything I've heard, he's a very personable individual. And also, we have seen over recent years this trend, whether it's Aokamatsu at Haas, whether it's Andrea Stella at McLaren, this move towards more kind of technical, strategic minds into these team principal roles with these. So obviously, Laurent was a long time employee at Toro Rosso back in the day before he went to the FIA, then Ferrari, now to Racing Bulls, and now eventually back to Red Bull Racing. So yeah, there does seem to be a almost changing of the guard as to what works. And there is no, you look at Mercedes management structure, McLaren's management structure, all of these teams operate slightly differently. Ferrari as well with Fred. And there is no one consistent, I don't think you can identify just one way of doing it and being like, that's, there's no guarantee of success. Of course, it's sport, right? But I do think that, Laurent seems like a really well-positioned individual to kind of take over. He had a good stint at Racing Bulls where I think that team has overperformed expectation, I would say, since he joined the team. And hopefully more of the same leading Oracle Red Bull Racing. I can only imagine when he found out that the job was I guess his if he wanted it, how he must have felt and reacted. That must have been quite the phone call for him. I can only imagine.
Oh, to be a fly on the wall. Yeah. I mean, the pressure, because there's no denying the success of Christian Horner and what he achieved within 100%. The 20 years of being at Red Bull Racing. He achieved so much, what he'd done with that team, bringing it from Jaguar up to, the world champions back with Sebastian Vettel years ago, and just creating the team around Max Verstappen just all works so well. And it feels like now we're kind of in like a changeover period, because now we have a new team boss, and then as of next season, it'll be different powertrains. And it feels like this is potentially a whole new fresh start for Red Bull, which is potentially exciting, because I guess maybe after a while things become a bit stale and you kind of need to shake things up a little bit. And I think that's what's happening. So it's exciting.
It is exciting. I think it's important to as well, like, temper expectation. I mean, when, Red Bull purchased Jaguar and took the team over, it took many years to get that competitive package. Sebastian was winning Grand Prix in 2009, didn't quite have enough to win the title, but then obviously 2010, 11, 12, 13 was the kind of dominant force over that period. And it's difficult. It's difficult when you get to the top as well to retain those levels, because I imagine, when you're chasing, you've always got that yardstick ahead. If you're second, third, you've got that team at the front and you're always trying to chase them and catch them and find these gains. And when you're at the top, it can be difficult to maintain those standards, I think. And we've seen, Mercedes, obviously they had their period of domination and they've really struggled in this ground effect era to replicate that success. And it is, yes, sometimes nothing lasts forever. No driver, no team principal. All these human beings change in every single role. And there's thousands of people employed across these, tens of thousands across the 10 teams. But what stays the same is the name above the door, broadly speaking anyway, and the factory, and it's all part of this system where, Christian started that. I mean, he was younger than me when he started, which is absolutely insane to think about giving that level of responsibility. 31, I think Christian was when he
I
was
would
given
not
the
be able to
keys.
handle that at that age. No way.
His legacy is unquestionable. Absolutely, it'd be fascinating to see what Christian does next. Absolutely, I'm keen to see, because I think obviously he's got so much value that he's brought to the sport.
Yeah.
But yeah, Lauren's at the wheel now, and I'm very excited to get him. We've got to get him on Talkie Ball. Lauren,
oh God,
come on.
yeah.
Let's make it happen.
100%. Yeah, that's absolutely happening. Yeah.
Yes.
Because we're approaching next season with the regulation changes at the moment as you're watching a race. So we're just talking off the tail end of the Hungarian Grand Prix, and everything is so close. I mean, when it came to qualifying, the entire 20 drivers were all basically within a second of each other within qualifying. Like, it's so tight. But as of next season, that could all change and everything will end up being much, much further apart. So who knows what next season's going to bring? But I think we should just carry on embracing this moment of how close this racing is this season, because we've gone through phases, right? This is what happens in Formula One. You go through dominant eras of different teams. So there was, the dominant era of Mercedes. We then had the dominant era of Red Bull Racing, where Max was just winning everything with ease. And now it seems like we're kind of in a McLaren dominant era. However, that could all change and be over very quickly, because as of next season, everything's all changing so much. So it might just be, 1 or 2 seasons of McLaren being dominant, and then who knows what next season's going to bring.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think we have a Formula One right now that, yes, there are problems with dirty air, and that has been a shame. I think that has... imagine if we still had these cars as clean through the air as they were in 2022, because obviously the teams add downforce, add performance, and then that creates more turbulent air. They were approximating you needed 0.8 delta in Hungary to make an overtake around one of the shortest laps on the calendar. That was a real shame. But like you say, in qualifying, we had the closest Q3 spread in F1 history, 0.5 seconds, 0.55 of a second. Crazy close. Look at how, Aston Martin in 2023 just were all of a sudden the second best team and giving Max problems on a regular, right? Look at Sauber right now. They've just bounced back from seemingly being nowhere for the last couple of years, and all of a sudden, Bortoletto's got a P6.
He had a blinder of a race, in Hungary,
and it's mad how the margins are so fine. The dirty air is an issue, and it's just fingers crossed. 26, these new cars, with active aero, more simplified floors, we should hopefully be, hopefully that will mitigate that problem to an extent. We are going to get a bit of a field spread. It always happens at the start of a new regulation period. Some teams nail it, hopefully Red Bull. Some teams don't, hopefully not Red Bull. And we'll see where we land. But it's the unknown, which I think is amazing. That's what I'm looking forward to. The anticipation. Anything could happen.
Anything could happen. I mean, if you look at the season that we've had so far, so this is Max's highlights, if you will. So he's won 2 Grand Prix, Japan and Imola. He won the sprint race in Belgium, which was so exciting, by the way. And he's been on the podium 3 times, Australia, Saudi Arabia and Canada as well. So it's been a solid season so far for Max. But it was such an exciting moment in Japan, Max obviously won the race, but it was Yuki's debut as a Red Bull racing driver.
Absolutely. I mean, what an impression Yuki's made over his time in Formula One. He's over 100 races in now, Yuki. Yeah. So he's been around for a while. And I've got to say, look, I've been a long-term supporter of Yuki. Since I always gets forgotten his P4 2021 Abu Dhabi, for obvious reason, that gets forgotten. But Yuki had a blinder of a race, overtook Bottas on the last lap, threw one up the inside, and I was like, this is my guy. Love to see it. And
this guy right here.
and he is, I could absolute vouch now that I've briefly met him. He is hilarious. He's great energy. He's chill. He's relaxed. He's funny. And you know what? I think it hasn't been an easy time, right? Since he jumped into the Red Bull racing car. This is, objectively true. He had a strong start to Q3s, two Q3s and an SQ3 in all of his Racing Bull sessions at the start of the year. Jumped into the Red Bull. It's been much trickier. And as of late, Spa within 3.5 tenths of Max, the closest any teammate's been to Max around Spa since Daniel Ricciardo. And a tenth and a half off Max in Hungary. Now that put him out in Q1, which shows how fine these margins are. But I just really hope, and obviously Laurent has worked with Yuki for quite a long time as Racing Bull's team principal as well. And I really hope this is the start of something. You know, he's got some positive momentum now, positive things to work on over the summer break, back in Zandvoort. Yuki P1, you know it's happening. Come on.
I'm really excited, by the way, because you've met him. I haven't met him yet. I haven't met him
Have you
yet.
not? Have you not had him on the... Oh, okay.
I saw him in the canteen last time that we were at Red Bull. We were getting some lunch and I was like, oh my God,
just bring the pod mic over. Yuki, sorry you're having your dinner, mate, but we're doing the podcast right here, right now.
Cool,
you're not getting away.
But I can tell you, we do have him booked, so he will be coming on Talking Ball. Annoyingly, you can't be there because you're on holiday that day, and that was the one day that we could book Yuki. So it's just me and Yuki, and I don't know.
Well, look, I might try and bribe the pilot of my flight back from my holiday. Just fly a bit quicker, and I might be able to. Yeah, I might be able to parachute in. So I'll do my best. Maybe midway through the podcast, I just fly through the ceiling. It'd be great content.
Be amazing.
So,
that would be good.
But you will have a great time with Yuki. I promise you that, because he is just fantastic. Good energy. Great kid. Love to see
I'm
it.
very, very excited to meet him. Also, one of my highlights that I think, as much as we're talking about Formula One, I need to talk about your first episode with Talking Ball. So here's some behind the scenes of what happened, right? Tomo really got thrown in the deep end that weekend. Really got thrown in the deep end.
It's the Red Bull way.
Magnificent. So here's what happened, right? So we found out very last minute that we were going to be going to Monaco. I've never been to Monaco for a Grand Prix before. I've been there before for something else, but I'd never been there before. So it was all really exciting. And me and Tomo had maybe met once or twice before that, something like that.
Never in person. We'd done a couple of podcasty things together. Yeah. And
obviously I've always been aware of you. You've always been aware of me. We always just kind of knew that we would get along anyway. Just a big fan of you. Big fan. And then we kind of truly got thrown in the deep end, arrived so last minute on a Friday night. We were running on very, very little sleep. And then we had to jump on the train to Nice into Monaco. And Tomo's first thing with Red Bull, with Talking Ball, was putting him on stage with Max Verstappen. But what happened was Max was running slightly late. So we went up on stage, and then we were told to just kind of, Phil, kind of build up the audience, get them all excited for Max coming on stage. And we're like, okay, cool, that's going to be like 2-3 minutes or something. And then that turned out to be about 10 minutes.
Because
I was such
hoping,
a good job.
Yeah, you definitely carried, Nick. You can watch it back yourselves, right? Nick definitely carried. Look, it was one of them where I was hoping, right, because I haven't done anything in front of a live audience for quite a while, right? And then I was hoping, right, we'd rock up, you know, a little bit of filler, and then Nick, you can kind of handle that, and then Max would be there straight away. I could just focus on Max and asking questions, good insightful questions, getting good insightful responses, bosh. And then we had to Phil. So then I'm kind of like, oh, okay, so we got to do like 6 minutes of talking to the audience, who were lovely and amazing. It was great.
They were lovely, yeah.
And it was, it was just like, it was, that is as intense as it's ever going to get. So, everything from now on's easy, basically.
Exactly that. And because you smashed it, everything else has been a breeze since then. And it's really nice to have you as part of Talking Ball, because now we can do episodes like this where we just talk Formula One and have a lovely time. For 2025, we're excited to welcome Arvatrade as a presenting partner of the award-winning Talking Ball podcast. Now, Arvatrade is a globally regulated, multi-award-winning broker featuring over 1,250 tradable instruments from CFDs and futures to options. With trading platforms like MT4 and MT5, as well as their mobile app or web trader, Arvatrade is built to empower traders to trade with confidence anytime at every level. Was there any kind of other race highlights that pop into your head over the first start of the season?
Look, I think from certainly from a Red Bull point of view, I think Max's ability to put it on pole in Suzuka and hold off the McLarens in those conditions as well. That was one of those where, you talk about races where the driver makes a difference, right? And the car is always going to be inherently linked to the driver. You're always going to have these discussions. Oh, it's just the car. Oh, it's just the driver, blah, blah, blah. But like that was one where Max made the difference. And you have these moments. And there's some weekends, Hungary just gone, even Max wasn't enough to overcome the shortcomings, unfortunately, of the car that weekend. But in Japan, he had no right to be on pole. He had no right to win that race. Yet he did. So that was very stat. And the thing is as well, right? what's the line from The Office? It's like, how do you know it's the good old? How do you remind yourself that it's the good old days when you're in them, or something along those lines?
Yeah, such a good line.
Max is an all-time great, of course he is, and he will be remembered for generations to come. And these are the performances that make him the great that he is. And it's just like, sometimes it can be easy to say, oh, it's just Max being Max. But like, we are witnessing one of the greatest to ever do it. And it's moments like that. It's moments like Imola, which shows that, this is someone very, very special.
Do you remember the Canadian Grand Prix? There was a lot of drive. So there's a few highlights from that, because I remember that being such a crazy race. I mean, not only did Lewis Hamilton run over a groundhog, but then you also had the McLarens hit each other. And that was where, if you're not a fan of McLaren, you kind of watch them and went, this is what's going to happen now, because they're racing against each other for the World Championship. And this is just where there's going to be huge battles. So they both hit each other. Norris had a DNF, and then Piastri managed to carry on, but he then couldn't get on the podium. But that got Max. Max was up there. He came P2, I believe, that race. That was wild.
Yeah. There's been some moments where, and we kind of saw this in 2014, 15, 16, where you do have a team. McLaren do seem to have an advantage right now. And certainly in the constructors, that's pretty much a wrap, right? Of course it is. But in the drivers, you do have these two teammates going against each other, and how McLaren manage that. And I feel like, broadly speaking, they have kept a lid on it. Oscar's a very calm, composed character. Lando's a bit more emotional, but all in all, it's been pretty chill. But we're not at the business end of the season yet. There's still a long way to go. So I feel like that can only last for so long. And I mean, even in Hungary, just gone, right? Oscar, locks up going for the move and is millimeters from collecting the back of Lando. And then George Russell would have won, which he was like, why didn't you T-bone him? Did you hear on the the post-race? So why didn't you T-bone him? It would have been fun. I'm sure it would have been fun for you, George. Fernando would have got a podium as well, which would have been great. But
that would have been amazing. It's really exciting seeing Fernando up there. I'm so obsessed with that guy. He's so cool. So when we're back from summer break, we are straight off to Zandvoort. Very exciting. We all know that that's an awesome race. We all know that that is Max's race, where it's just going to be full Max fans going completely and utterly bonkers. It's also the first race back for the Formula One Academy, which is very exciting. So it'll be nice to see the women out there doing some racing as well. So it's all systems go at the end of August when everyone's back, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Zandvoort is such a unique track in terms of the characteristics itself. It's very tight and windy. It's got the banking through the final corner. But also, the fans are just incredible. That's one I really want to, that's top of my, I've never been to Zandvoort. That's top of my
I'd love to. Yeah.
Come on. We need to make this happen. You've got even the sand, because you're obviously so close to the sea. You've got the beach. It chucks sand on the track, which is another variability, obviously classic, which we can say from a British point of view. Dutch weather is just as unpredictable. Yeah. So sometimes you get rain, sometimes you get sun. And I'm excited for that. Max, always seems to find an extra gear at Zandvoort as well. We don't know, is that track going to suit where the car's sitting right now? It's very difficult to say. But ambient temperature plays a factor in that. Obviously, the tarmac as well, the condition of that. Some tarmac's more abrasive than others. There's a lot of factors that go into it. But I do think that we're going to see Max determined to get back on this. It's been too long as well. It's been too long since Max has been on the podium. I reckon Zandvoort's a good shout for it. I think he'll find an extra gear. What a venue to have F1 cars go around. They're a bit too big for the track, but they're going to be a bit smaller next year, which will make Zandvoort
only a little bit.
Yeah,
we say 10 a bit
centimetres.
It's nothing
20 centimetres. Really. It's something. I'm holding on to something, Nicola.
Okay, fine. But look, by the way, it would be lovely to hear your thoughts if you're listening, if you're watching, especially if you are watching on YouTube. Let us know your thoughts about the rest of the season in the comments section below. I'd love to hear from you guys. That'd be great.
Absolutely. And also, let us know this first half of the season, I've had 14 rounds now of 24, Nick, who's been your standout? Has there been a particular driver you'd like to dedicate a little bit of time to talk about? It could be
Isaac Hadjar.
Reparation. It could
We've already discussed
Isaac Hadjar?
Yeah.
What a guy.
For me, he's just been fantastic, and not just on the track, but also in person, on social media. He's just absolutely nailed it. And I do genuinely think it all stemmed from that moment in Australia, from that first race, where he just completely, he fell off and then he got straight back on that horse and was just Mr. Confident from then on. And he's really proved himself to be one to watch. He is rookie of the season. Absolutely rookie of the season.
Agreed.
And I'm such a big fan of him, and I'm so pleased with how his season's gone, and I just think he's wonderful. Your thoughts, please, Tomo McCluskey. Who is it for you?
I mean, I couldn't agree more. You know what, someone actually I do think deserves a shout. It's quite easy to overlook him, but I think Pierre Gasly this year in an Alpine car that clearly hasn't been all that. He's still managed to get 20 points on the boards. I think he's been in Q3 7-8 times, I want to say. He's finding pace in a package, and there's obviously been a lot of change at that team as well. And for him to be so consistent, I think he's been a real godsend to that team, right? Because I think without Pierre, they're in a much more challenging situation. He's been, consistently getting the maximum, the ceiling of that car, I feel like, and having a very kind of underrated season, quite an easy to overlook season. Also, Alex Albon, because he is my favourite. They're both ex-Red Bull boys as well, so there'll always be some love there. Boys. Alex has been stupendous this year in that Williams, so it's very, very good to see from an Albon fan point of view for me, but I think Pierre Gasly has been quite easy to overlook, so I want to give him his flowers.
Okay. Absolutely. That's fair. Right, so we've got 10 races to go. Is there any one in particular that you are really looking forward to?
Ooh, that is a good question.
You're only allowed to pick one out of the 10, otherwise we'll be here forever.
Interlagos always delivers.
I was going to say the same one. Yeah.
If it rains as well, Max is going to put on a clinic in the rain. And Gabriel Bortoletto, his first ever home Grand Prix.
Oh,
he's
it'll
been
be fantastic
this year.
Yeah.
Yes. Interlagos,
we're basically the
please.
same person. That's fine. We agree on everything. That's brilliant.
Love it.
It's also really annoying if you're listening to this, because it would be really nice if someone brought up something different, but the fact that we've completely agreed with our thoughts on the races coming
Vegas is usually interesting because it's cold, and obviously it's Vegas, so it's unique, and I think Vegas would probably bring up, the Mercedes seem to be strong there when it's cold. I think Vegas could be an interesting result, but Interlagos is the one I'm excited for from a racing point of view.
Singapore's always good fun.
Yep.
It's just, Interlagos is just, that's the one. That's the one that I'm really, really looking forward to.
And there's always so much going on. There's always different strategies. You kind of, that track really rewards, it's got so much character, it's got so much history. Like, it literally has everything. I would probably say Interlagos is the most complete track on the calendar. I think that's fair to say. And because, some amazing tracks in Formula One, Spa, Catalunya, there's certain tracks that are fantastic racing motorsport venues, but for F1 with the current formula, with the dirty air, Hungaroring as well, you've got to say, an 8/10 delta, it shouldn't be like that. You shouldn't need that much advantage to get an overtake done. But a track like Interlagos, no matter the regulation period of F1, whether it's the 2020s, 10s, 2000s, 1990s and beyond, has always been an absolute banger.
Yes, and Max is incredible on that track. Incredible. I mean that race that he did where he started P17 and then just flew past everybody was just an absolute masterclass. I think I've spoken about that race so much than any other race in the history of Formula One, because for me that was Max at his absolute finest, and I just feel like we're going to get another one of those this season again. I can just feel it.
Look, like I said earlier, right? It's a career, Max's, that will be reflected on for years to come. He will be remembered as one of the greats, and there will be moments. You always look back to, moments from Schumacher or Senna or Prost or Vettel or all of the greats. And that Brazil performance last year will absolutely be one of the first that will come to mind when you talk in 20, 30 years, when we're all old and grey and we're reflecting on Max's career. That will be one that will be straight out there. So hopefully
Max
we get
is old and grey, and he's being
interviewed
by, the BBC or something, going back on his old years in Formula One, and he's sat there and he's all wrinkly and grey, and they go, here's some highlights of your career, and that clip will be the first clip, 100%. 100% will be out there.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love to see it. Love to see it. But yes, Interlagos should be superb. Hopefully we get a title fight down to the line as well.
So what we're saying is, bring on Brazil, bring on Abu Dhabi, bring on the rest of the season, 10 races to go. Thank you very much for joining us. If you've been listening, if you've been watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe. Wherever you're listening to your podcast, click follow, all of the things, put your comments in the section below. And hopefully we'll do more of these where we can just discuss things and just have a lovely old chat about Formula One. This has been great.
Remote life. Red Bull, can you send me a suit to put in my background, please?
No, I won this. I won this.
I need one as well. It's only fair.
No, okay. You're not allowed to be gifted one. That's not fair.
No, I can have yours next time. You can have a plain
Absolutely
background.
not. No, it's not happening.
All right, never mind. Thank you all for watching. We do really appreciate you taking the time. This was Talking Ball, remote for once, which is good fun. I enjoyed this, Nick. Pleasure as always.